Good morning, everybody, and a happy Tuesday morning to you. My goodness, we do have some royal family stuff in here. We have some Diana stuff in here, and shockingly, there's stuff in here you're just going to be shocked. I was shocked, like literally shocked by the name change thing. You'll see it when we get there. So there's a lot. Let's just jump in and get busy, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start off with the message from the Queen that marked the 85th anniversary of Operation Dynamo at Dunkirk in honor of the civilian contribution to the war effort. It was a beautiful, you can stop the screen and read these slides to yourselves. I just think the pictures are amazing. And by the way, her father, she put a thing up for her father as well, because of course he was there. Lovely. All right, let's move on. Let's move on now to Princess Anne, who attended the King's birthday party reception, which was hosted by the British High Commissioner to Barbados at the residence in Bridgetown. And the British High Commissioner to Barbados is Mr. Simon Mustard. Now, I think Anne looks lovely. I don't recognize what she's wearing, and Remoulade sauce hadn't covered this particular outfit, so I can't cover it. Now, as for what she was doing there, she's president of the Duke of Edinburgh's Commonwealth Study Conferences, and she attended the closing plenary of the Caribbean Canada Leaders Dialogue 2025. This took place at the Hilton's Resort in Barbados. The pictures were taken by the Jamaican Defense Force. It was reported that she was visiting Barbados as part of the Caribbean Canada Emerging Leaders Conference, which took place at the Port Ferdinand. Good for her. You guys know how much I love Anne. All right, let's move on to another couple I love, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. I've already covered this with you a few days ago, but more pictures came out. You know how I am. I have to go back, so here we go. They recently were in Scotland. They went to visit the Inner Hebrides to learn more about life in the remote island communities and to celebrate the people, culture, and innovation found across the region. They started with a small primary school where they were welcomed with a dance performance, and they had the chance to view arts and crafts that were created by the local pupils. Then on to the island of Jura, I believe is how it's pronounced, where they met with local community groups and visited several small businesses, including a bakery and a shop. They also went to a distillery. The next day, they went to the lifeboat station where they met marine staff and local residents, and then they went to Kerala, where they went to the community woodlands, viewed the Queen's Green Canopy commemorative tree, and engaged with residents at the Old School Community Hub. I hope they keep going for a long time. All right, I want to move into this about Diana. This is going to be interesting. Designer, I hope I'm saying this right, Jacques Azagari, had known Princess Diana for a long time. He designed a lot of her dress. This blue dress was one of his. She wore it to Swan Lake in London in 1997. Then you had this red dress she wore to a fundraiser in Venice in 1995. Then you had this other red dress that she wore in Washington, D.C. Then you had this other dress she wore in 95 to a gala for cancer research. Anyway, come to find out, there was a dress that was the final dress that had been made for her that she never got to wear. And they are showing pictures of this absolutely gorgeous dress. I'm hoping the dress goes up for auction so somebody can buy it and wear it. But it really is beautifully made, shiny, and you can tell it's Diana's figure. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, the reason I'm bringing up Diana is you're not going to believe this. Articles have come out, this is like confirmed, that Harry wanted to change their last name to Spencer. He actually went to Princess Diana's brother when he was in the UK and said, I'd like to change the name, which meant their daughter would be Lilibet Diana Spencer. Okay, that is just freaking creepy. But apparently he was told that the legal side of doing so would be too difficult. They did have an amicable conversation, but apparently Earl Spencer advised him about, taking such a step. The children are supposed to go by Mountbatten Windsor, which combines the royal family's name of Windsor and the Duke of Edinburgh's surname. So yeah, the whole thing is just really creepy. We know Meghan decided her real objective in life is to be Diana. So I guess if she can't be Diana, she wants her daughter to be Lilibet Diana Spencer. Could you just imagine? Oh my God. I creepy. Listen, names and titles are a very sensitive subject for these two. They were given the Sussex title. She then tried to go by Meghan Sussex. Well, that didn't take. We found out that they were not supposed to be using their HRH titles, and Meghan behind the scenes was still using hers. It's been one thing after another with the two of them, I'm telling you. Now, just FYI, the Mountbatten Windsor surname is only available to descendants of the late Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. So why she would want to change it, I can't imagine. It's just weird. All right, we've already discussed this. I'm just throwing this extra in here. People are pointing out that Harry went to Shanghai and said, now is the moment for the industry to reaffirm its commitment to being a force for good. And the true measure is how we respond to the path becomes difficult. But his hypocrisy left people really upset because apparently Harry and Meghan clocked 83,000 air miles in 2024 alone as part of their travel. And of course, his words they're saying were meant for poorer people who can't afford to travel by private jet. So it's for thee, not for me. So basically they're saying he did go there by private jet. But since he's always flying everywhere by private jet, I don't see why this is such a big shocker. All right, let's move on to our next story. This is interesting. It's being reported that Meghan Markle tried to get Taylor Swift on Archetypes. Taylor Swift said no. Then it was reported she tried to get Beyonce on Archetypes, and Beyonce told her no. By the way, for those of you who know that Beyonce's mother is going on, she has a new book coming out that she wants to promote. That's probably while she's going on. So Maureen Callahan, she has a podcast, and she had Kinsey Schofield on. And Kinsey Schofield gets on and says, I believe that Meghan is getting a season 3 of With Love Meghan. And she says, and the reason I believe that is because a source reached out to her to tell her that Dolly Parton was approached about appearing on an episode of, With Love Meghan and making a cameo. And her team was livid and said they are not going to risk Dolly's epic pristine popularity by associating with Meghan Markle. And the reason her team was so angry was they knew that this ask was just to give Meghan Markle credibility in the lifestyle space, an area where Dolly does have a lot of credibility because she puts out her own lifestyle, cake batter and stuff. And Dolly's incredibly popular and loved by the general public. And so everybody knew that this was an ask to try to climb up on Dolly Parton's reputation, and it wasn't going to work. So all of this is going on with Meghan, and what's coming out now is they're saying that Prince Harry is nothing but a shell of his former self because he's watching Meghan Markle do all of these things. Now, they're saying that he's watching Meghan succeed in life. I'm sorry, she's not succeeding at all. Everything she tries, actually, has she done one thing that's gone well? Because I can't find one more thing. He also appears to be, they're saying, erratic in his behavior because he did that visit to China, which clashed with the king's visit to Canada. I don't think that was erratic. I think that was done intentionally. They're trying to rebrand again, the new podcast, which didn't go well, As Ever, which didn't go well. And now Harry has lost Sentabale. African Parks is a shambles. All he's got left is Travelist. I mean, there's literally nothing left. I mean, when you really think about it, he's not even a working royal, and the only other thing he's got left is Invictus, and Meghan's basically taken that over and turned it into her own personal catwalk. I'll be interested to see if she goes with him to Birmingham in the UK. Next up, I spoke to you yesterday about documentaries. Well, there's a new documentary on Channel 5 that's titled Megxit, the Inside the Sandringham Summit. And you've got experts and commentators talking about what really happened behind closed doors at the summit and what the long-term impacts have been on the monarchy. And apparently one expert revealed that Prince Philip was so horrified by Harry's decision to step back that he never spoke to him again. He's someone who didn't take fools gladly, and he was horrified that they had come to a situation where the royal family was deciding whether to split up again. So he left Sandringham altogether rather than come face to face with Harry, and he just couldn't bring himself to see his grandson. He thought it was a huge dereliction of duty, and All right, I'm just putting this up for information because people are writing to me, Meghan didn't have a nanny. She does have a nanny. She admitted that she has a nanny. So she has 2 children, a nanny, a cook, a gardener, a pool man. She ain't all that, guys. She's not stressed. And if she is stressed, then I don't know what to say. Maybe she's stressed about having to pay their salaries because they're having monetary problems. All right, let's move into our last story. Meghan is trying really hard to get people interested in season 2 of her With Love, Meghan. Don't think it's going to work. So she dropped some unseen footage from the show that didn't make it onto the show. The clip is with her guest, Randy Karen. I'm guessing this woman filmed a whole thing, but they didn't release it. Maybe that's a hint as to the fact that this woman is going to be on the show on season 2. So maybe it's going to drop in the autumn. And they're also suggesting, by the way, that people rewatch the show because there was so much goodness on season 1 that just didn't make it in. There just wasn't enough time. Great weekend to rewatch or catch up as we gear up for season 2. More fun to come. And I'm like, I can see why it was dropped. It is one of the most boring things I've ever seen. So here's what happens. What she does is she pulls out a pineapple. Now, when most people take pineapples, they cut it so everybody can have some. And Meghan goes, when nature has given you all the cues on how to have a perfect taste of something, and she pulls out this piece and goes, before popping a piece of it into her mouth, I might add. And the girlfriend goes, how fun is that? I love it. And then attempts to do it herself. Guys, that's not how you cut a pineapple. Could you imagine if you had to go through a pineapple and cut each little piece out like that? Could you imagine how long it would take you to cut pineapple for everybody? I gotta be honest and tell you that I really, really don't see this going any better than season 1. Yes, people hate watch the first one, but by the second or third, by the third crudité board and the flower sprinkles on everything, it was just damn boring. And that's what I think is going to happen again. Talking about her show on May 28th, Martha Stewart was on stage in conversation presentation in Australia. And somebody asked her about the controversy with Meghan Markle, and they asked her for her thoughts. And to her credit, she didn't rise to what could have been a really nasty thing. She simply said, I'm not going there. And finally, if you can believe this, Harry and Meghan are expanding again their communications team. They have added Method Communications as an extension of the Sussex communication team. So the team from Method was hired by Meredith Maines, who we know is their first chief communications officer. Remember, she went up to that in February. Method, is going to help support Harry and Meghan's growing business portfolio and philanthropic interests. And the Sussex team is strategically building out communication efforts around Harry and Meghan. So basically, everything has failed. They've hired an outside group. There you go. I definitely am looking forward to your comments on this one. So don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and go down into the description box where you'll find the links to my Twitter, Gettr, Rumble, email, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale, a link to my second channel, as well as a physical address and a link to my Amazon wish list. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.